What's up, readers? Welcome back to UNREAD Book Summary. Thanks for being here no matter where you're watching or listening from. Smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss a summary. Today, we are diving deep, pun absolutely intended, into Cal Newport's game-changing book, Deep Work. We're going to explore why being able to truly focus is basically a superpower in today's world, and how you can get it. I mean, this is the question, right? It feels like we have a million things to do, but our attention is getting sliced up into 1,000 tiny little pieces. This explainer is all about getting to the bottom of why that's happening, and way more importantly, what you can actually do about it. So, Newport frames this whole thing as a battle for your brain between two types of work. First, you've got deep work. This is the good stuff, the mentally draining, high-value tasks that actually push you and create something new. And on the other side, shallow work. Think of this as the busy work, the endless emails, the meetings, the stuff that makes you feel productive, but doesn't really create much value. And here's why this distinction is so critical. Shallow work makes you vulnerable. Newport tells this incredible and kind of scary story about a financial consultant named Jason Ben. This guy realized his entire job, which took up hours every single day, could be completely automated by a simple Excel script. That was a huge wake-up call, realizing his professional value was tied to something a machine could do in seconds. And that story just perfectly sets up the book's main idea. In our economy, where shallow, repetitive tasks are being automated away, the ability to go deep, to learn really complicated things fast and produce top-tier work, isn't just a nice skill anymore. It's pretty much the critical skill for staying relevant and getting ahead. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to follow Newport's structure here. First, we'll dig into exactly why deep work is such a winner. Then we'll get into the real nuts and bolts, how to actually structure your focus, how to train your brain to concentrate, and finally, how to put it all together to live a deep life. Let's kick things off with the why. Newport lays out 3 really powerful arguments for why going all in on deep work is probably the best career move you can make right now. So, point number 1, deep work is incredibly valuable. Think about it. Our economy really rewards 2 things, above all else: the ability to master hard things quickly and the ability to produce work at an absolutely elite level. And guess what? Newport says both of those things are completely dependent on your ability to do deep work. He points to 3 groups that are set to thrive: high-skilled workers who can team up with smart machines, superstars who are literally the best in the world at what they do, and owners who have the cash to invest. Now, to get into those first 2 groups, you have to be able to learn and produce like a champion. And the secret ingredient for both? You guessed it, deep work. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. This is the paradox. Even as deep work becomes more and more valuable, it's also becoming way, way rarer. Just look at the modern office. Open floor plans, constant pings from messaging apps, the expectation that you're always online. It's like our workplaces are specifically designed to kill the very focus needed for deep work. And Newport says this isn't because shallow work is more important. Nope. It's because it's easier. We naturally drift toward the path of least resistance. It's also really hard to measure the true cost of all that distraction. And let's be honest, looking busy by firing off emails often feels safer than disappearing to do some real deep thinking. And the final piece of the why is huge. The book makes this really compelling case that a life built around deep work isn't just more productive or lucrative, it's more meaningful. From every angle, neurological, psychological, even philosophical, the act of focusing intensely on something hard brings this deep sense of satisfaction that a scattered, shallow life just can't compete with. Okay, I'm guessing we're all on board with the why now, but the big question is, how? How do we actually do this? Well, Newport gives us some very concrete strategies to start building deep work into our schedules, and it all starts with picking a philosophy. So, the first step is to figure out your style. Are you monastic, ready to cut out almost all distractions? Maybe you're bimodal, where you split your year or week into deep and shallow periods, like Carl Jung did. Or maybe rhythmic is more your speed, making deep work a consistent daily habit. There's even a journalistic approach for people who have to snatch focus time whenever they can. The point is, there's a model that can work for you. Next up, you need a ritual. The whole point of a ritual is to take willpower out of the equation. You decide ahead of time. Where will you work? For how long? What are the rules, like no internet? How will you support yourself? Got your coffee ready? When you codify all of this, slipping into a state of deep focus becomes almost second nature.
All right, so you've made the time and you've built the ritual. That's great. But you also need the mental horsepower to actually do the work. This next part is all about strengthening that concentration muscle.
Oh man, this one is so important and so hard. Newport's argument is that if every time you feel even a tiny bit of boredom, you immediately reach for your phone, you're training your brain to be distracted. You're weakening its ability to focus. The fix? You have to intentionally embrace boredom. Let your mind be quiet. It's like resistance training for your attention span. He also wants us to completely change how we think about technology. Most of us use what he calls the any benefit approach. If a social media app has any possible benefit, we use it. He says we need to switch to the craftsman approach. This means you only adopt a tool if its positive impact on your most important goals massively outweighs all the negative impacts. It's a much higher bar. Let's bring it home with the final set of rules. This is all about execution. How do you actually manage your days and weeks to make this deep life a reality? Now, this might look intense, but Newport is a huge believer in scheduling every single minute of your workday. It's not about being a rigid robot. It's about being intentional. By giving every minute a job, you force yourself to see where your time is going, and you can proactively build walls around your deep work blocks so they don't get eaten alive by shallow tasks. This one feels like a paradox, but it's so powerful. Commit to a hard stop for your workday. By creating that constraint, I have to be done by 5:30, you force yourself to be absolutely ruthless with your priorities. You don't have time for nonsense. This fixed schedule productivity makes you fiercely protect your deep work time and slash anything shallow that gets in the way. And finally, you have to drain the swamp of shallow work. That means you have to make yourself harder to reach. Put up some filters so people have to think before they email you. Write replies that end the conversation instead of creating 5 more emails. And most importantly, get comfortable with the idea that you do not have to respond to every single message that comes your way. So when you put all these pieces together, what do you get? Well, these aren't just little life hacks. They're an invitation to make a really profound shift in how you see your work, your time, and really your entire life. At the end of the day, the core message of deep work is that committing to focus doesn't just make you more productive. It leads to a better life, a life of skill, of accomplishment, and of the deep, lasting satisfaction that comes from pushing your mind to its absolute limits. The default setting for our world is distraction and shallow busyness. Choosing to do deep work is an act of rebellion. It's not easy, but as Cal Newport shows us, the rewards are just immense, both professionally and personally. So the only question left is, will you make that choice? This concludes today's book summary. Thank you for joining us and for your continued support. Please subscribe to stay up to date with our latest summaries, and we'll see you in the next video.